And Facebook is live. Or Facebook, YouTube, whatever we're doing today. Whatever we're doing, it's live.
Okay, so we're good?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is a continuation of a board-to-board discussion between Montezuma County, the Dolores Town trustees, and basically what we're discussing again this afternoon is the Salter YEA. They did have some questions for us that we couldn't really answer the other night. So thank you, Forest Service, CPW, and for showing up to answer some of the questions that we can't. So with that, Chad or Ken or whoever wants to get started, I'll let you guys start back with your questions to whichever agency that you would like to start with.
Well, I guess this is Chad Willis, Mayor in Dolores. I think Ken has those questions, and he's sort of just joining us. Ken, do you want to kind of get this started, and then I can assist in any way possible?
Yeah, please. I'll be glad to. Yeah, we called after our meeting that we had, at the town board and the commissioners. You guys suggested that we get with Jim Dietrich, your public lands person, to talk a little bit about our approaches to the EA, what kind of comments, if there were any overlaps with our thoughts and concerns. So, that's sort of where we started with this meeting. It's a lot of things we went over with the three commissioners, which, mostly about transportation issues and economic issues that might affect the outdoor recreation industry. And the subcommittee we have with the mayor and Jen Stark, I think she may be attending in person. We did have a meeting with Derek and Tom from the Forest Service. So that was a good meeting. We got a lot of good information. So I think we just want to see what the county's approach to the environmental assessment are. And based on our conversations last week, if you have any further thoughts from that meeting. From transportation, I think we were thinking possibly it's a long project, 6, 7, 8 years, Derek. We talked a little bit about some of the fees that the timber industry pays on these projects that goes to the county. We just wanted to talk to the county a little bit about being open to, if there's road damage on town streets, 11th Street to the Highway 135. We just want to kind of talk about how that might work with the county. I think the outdoor recreation industry concerns were just very much pointed onto the boggy draw area of the project, and we want to see what if the county's got thoughts on that. So I don't know what.
I can address some of it, and then Derek, obviously correct me if I'm wrong. I did read your statement. So if you are basically commenting or questioning what the 25% is, which the Forest Service pays, that comes back to us in the form of PILT and or SRS, Secure Rural Schools. So for the last 2 years, I can comment on that. I had Shaq pull those out. So per the statute, Secure Rural Schools, or SRS, 25% of that has to go to Road and Bridge, 25% of it goes to the schools, and the other 50% of that is discretionary within the county. So the last 2 years, in 2019 and 2020, the county commissioners all voted to give that entire 50% to the schools. So it went to Cortez, Mancos, and Dolores as far as the funding that we got. from the Forest Service. So all of that funding is going back to the municipalities as far as the SRS. The county did not keep any of that other than the 25% that by statute has to go to road and bridge. And then it all goes to the state's federal trust fund. And Derek, I'm going to ask you to kind of explain this a little bit better because you can probably do a better job than I can.
So as far as the 25% from timber receipts that goes to the state, who then distributes that to the county. And this is separate from secure rural schools. This is the payment in lieu of taxes that we're talking about. If there aren't sufficient funds within a particular county there's a minimum amount of money we have to give to the counties, and that's that payment in lieu of taxes. That there's that minimum that they get on a yearly basis, and that is, I believe that is allocated by Congress. I'm not totally certain on that. But if there are fee-generating activities within that county, then 25% of those funds goes back to that county through the state. And then with regards to what the county can do with those funds, that part, that's not something I'm familiar with, because once we give the county the monies, and then they do it with what they will. But from what I understanding, the funding is available for roads and then for schools, as Commissioner Candelaria discussed. Whether or not they can then further distribute that money to a municipality, for their road system, that I don't know the answer to. I think that would be within the state and county policy and regulations on whether or not that's something that they could do. But we, there again, like I said, if we can't meet that minimum amount, then that's the amount that they get. But if we exceed that minimum amount based on those fee-generating activities, which are timber sale activities, grazing fees, special use fees, and I think that pretty much encompasses all of them. Like I said, then whatever that funding source or funding amount is, then that's what's available to the county to utilize, like I said, on schools and roads from that 25% of the PILT funding. But whether or not they can then utilize that money to distribute to a municipality, like I said, that I'm not certain of. So I don't know if Shaq would have more information about that.
So 25% mandatory has to go to the county road department. 25% mandatory has to be divided among the school districts. The other 50% is discretionary. Historically, we've given it to the school districts. In theory, the county could also distribute it to municipalities to be used on their roads, but I'll let you guys duke it out with the school districts. I don't want no part of that.
And something else that I want to just also bring to your attention too, through your HUTF funds, that's distributed at a 60, 22, and 18%. So the counties get 22% of that, and we have just under 800 miles of roadway that we take care of. Now, not all of those are hard surface, some are gravel, and some are primitive, but if you do the entire count, that's the road system that we take care of with that 22% of the HUTF funds. The municipalities, and you guys can check me on this too through CML, but I want to say that distribution is at 18%, and I'm not sure what percentage of roads that you have within your township there. So, like Shaq just said, we have been giving back to the schools at 50% of our discretionary funds of the SRS, but I guess if this commission is open to sitting down and having a different conversation, then we could do that also. But I can tell you what we gave to the school districts last year. Well, let me start with the road and bridge at 25%. They got $41,436. Montezuma Cortez got $87,327. Dolores got 21,779, and Mancus got 15,203. So that was the distribution that we did last year for our SRS. So we're not taking those funds and you know, we felt that we were being prudent by giving them back to the schools because of the funding that they were lacking.
Okay, thank you. I think it's just keeping the lines of communication open. If there are additional receipts generated from the timber, from the project, and there are, road damage that occur over time, we might look to you, Commissioner, to use some of those funds to help the town make those repairs.
Okay, and then the next question, I think, Chad, I'm not sure if it was Tracy or Jen that asked something about the wildlife issues in Boggy. Is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Come on up to the podium
Gosh.
or next to Susan and.
Never
point 'em
mind, Chad. I have her right here. Gosh.
glad you guys have her. There.
Come on up, Jen.
I was just going to say that one of the things that was interesting when we were in that watershed meeting, when we were meeting with the Dolores Water folks,
Step a little bit.
is that
closer.
they were, one of them in their Molly had said there are a series of restrictions that occur in the EA. And I just thought, for transparency's sake, it might be nice if those could be listed so that people who are concerned that industry is just taking over the field has to abide by certain things. Let me give you an example, is like maybe calving season, right? Or if there's a migration season for elk or something like that. So there's a series of other sets of restrictions that are out there that I am not knowledgeable about, and I'm sure other people aren't, that I thought would be nice. That if we could have that full list, it helps us see that there are other guidelines. It's just not a free-for-all for logging, I guess is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so within the environmental assessment, there's a section called design criteria, and that actually lists out all the various, mitigations
Right.
that we are proposing to impose, upon the
Industry already.
vegetation management activities out there.
Yeah.
So that's what they are. There aren't any in addition to that. Those are
Yeah.
them.
So if it was just that we could review those, both county and town, and to see if there were any additional that we knew people who utilized that forest in a certain way could think about. That's all I'm saying, is that there may be things, activities that we know people do in addition to what they've already had listed that we may want to take into consideration. That's all I'm saying. So thank you for bringing that back up.
Okay, and I'm trying to do the best I can off of my notes that I was scribbling
You're doing
really
pretty
fast.
good. You're doing pretty good.
Uh,
No, I really don't want to stay up here.
You're more than welcome to.
I mean, you could just,
Set right there.
yeah, cop a seat right next to Susan.
I have most of my questions at Ken, and then Ken, if you miss them, then I'll come around and catch you. How does that sound? I don't think you can hear me.
He said it sounds great.
Good job, Ken.
Okay, so one of the questions that we had, it's for Derek, I think, and that revolves around the transportation again. So do you guys anticipate most of the logging trucks coming down through County Road 31 to 11th Street to 145? Or there, I think we talked about this briefly, but I don't remember what the answer was.
Not all of it associated with the project. Anything pretty much west of Plateau Creek, if folks are familiar with where that's at, will most likely go out Bradfield Bridge direction, so to the west. The stuff, at Turkey Knolls South, so anything east of that Plateau Creek area, I'm sorry, I'm getting that wrong. It's actually Trimble Point, not Plateau Creek. So anything east of Trimble Point, will most likely come down the Dolores Norwood Road, which is Forest Service Road 526, and then which transitions over into County Road 31. We are looking at some other potential, options. Some of those northern units, the Cottonwood Road might be a potential haul route, so we're looking at that as well. But for right now, it's most likely that most things, yes, will come out Forest Road 526 and County Road 31, which is all the same road, but just different jurisdictions.
Good. So will you guys have any, once you understand what the breadth of this project will entail, I mean, I don't know the answer, but will there be a not to exceed number of trips coming out of the forest per day as they come into town?
I think I've done that math, Ken, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the time frame that we estimated, we kind of asked Derek to give us where they were going to log and days per year, which was 200 days per year, and they anticipated 1,800 loads in those 200 working days. So if you do that math, it's only 9 loads per day at their maximum. Now, obviously, is that subject to change? Absolutely, because of weather. But so really, if you look at a 9-hour working day, it's only 1 trip per hour. So I don't think the impact that you're going to see is probably any different than what you're really seeing right now going, will it increase by 1 trip per hour? Absolutely, but I don't think it's going to be a significant impact because they really only have 200 days a year that they can work.
Good.
So is that correct, Eric? That's the math I did off of the last conversation of email that I got from James Dietrich.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the math that we used as well, and that's the estimate that we came up with it also. And then just to add, we did some looking into the active timber sales that we have going on, right now over in the Hay Camp area, and the maximum number of loads that we've had in any one day was 14 loads, and then the minimum was 0, so there might be some days where it's a little more than 9, but we don't anticipate that there would be anything, significantly over that.
Okay, thanks. In terms of the outdoor recreation industry, I think we'll have some additional questions in our response to the EA. I know you guys have, I think you're calling them 6 compartments in the Boggy Draw area, and they'll be cut one at a time. They'll be harvested one at a time. So I think you said you anticipated those compartments would be harvested pretty quickly, but the contracts would still run for 3 to 5 years. Is that correct? For each compartment will have a 3 to 5 year agreement?
Actually, our maximum timber sale contract period is actually 7 years. That's what we've agreed to. Okay. For these sales, just because of the things that we talked about on Monday, the unknowns such as, fire restrictions and shutting down industry during those high fire condition timeframes and things of that sort. But at any rate, what our intent is that, is to get in there and get out. I can't, guarantee that, that's going to happen exactly the way we would like, by any means. But just with my experience with the area operators, that's the way they tend to operate. As Tom, mentioned on Monday, with the work that we did out in the Chicken Creek area, they completed those units in about 6 to 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And then we're out of there, which would mean, we would just then open things back up after that. But that's not to say that we might not have, multiple cells in the area that, might keep things closed a little longer, but, our intent is to, keep the impact to recreational use to as much the minimum as we can. As I talked to you, as we talked again when we talked last there, I have Tom, and I think they've been working on it this week, identifying that, well, in compartment 1, contains, a certain percentage of the Boggy Jaw Trail System. And so when compartment 1's closed, and this is just a hypothetical number, if compartment 1 comprises 10% of the recreational trails in that Boggy Jaw system, well, then that means 90% of the trail system is going to be available for the public to use. So they're working up those numbers so that we can paint a better picture as far as what that impact will be.
Okay. No, I know, we'll be covering a lot of this the other day too, so I don't have a lot of other comments right now about the outdoor recreation impacts. We will make some additional thoughts known, I'm sure. But I think as the mayor said to you when we did meet Monday, we understand the reason for the project. It's forest health, and everybody understands the null alternative in terms of potential fire and insect infestation. So, yeah, we'll make our comments known, and hopefully we'll get answers. I'm sure we will.
No. And that was just for the benefit of the county commission, as far as me, restating, what we had discussed there, since they weren't participating in that meeting. And just another thing to, pass on to the county commission that, that we talked about, was exactly that, is that, we haven't, had, the opportunity to really, make a meaningful difference in our forest health situation here because of lack of industry. It's not that there hasn't been the need and that now because industry's here, we're all of a sudden, just trying to cater to them. That's not the case at all. This is our chance to be able to do what's needed out on that landscape because we do have a partner in industry, available to us to be able to get, that much needed work done out there. If we didn't have that ability to do that, we would be in the same situation that we have been, for the last, I think it was the 90s is when we really had a real meaningful, opportunity to do treatment out on the landscape because industry was in place. And that's a long time to just leave a forest to go fallow and, increase in density and things like that, and then result in the situation that we're seeing here locally, but also, nationwide, as far as insect and disease impacts, and then definitely, the catastrophic wildfire impacts. So now we actually have the ability to get ahead of this and address that so that maybe we don't have that situation. That's what the hope is that we can actually do some treatment on the ground prior to running into one of those, devastating events. So, we really have an opportunity here to, do what's right for the resource out there.
I've got Ms. Stark here too, guys. Since she's in the audience, I think she raised her hand. You can't see it on the screen, but I can see her here.
I did that on purpose. No, I didn't. So one of the things that I just was thinking about, Derek, when you were saying that, and the commissioner was talking about 9 times a day for the logging trucks, which I agree. But I did think about, we just had 2 rollovers of 2 log trucks this last weekend, and I think one of them occurred early in the morning hours. So I just wanted to ask Forest Service if there was any intent or if it's helpful if we make recommendations about when those hours of operation are, so you don't get a flip at 3 a.m. on 11th Street or something? Not that
Yeah, I mean,
happened, but-
that one's a difficult one. The reason they're operating at those hours is just because that's when the ground is frozen, and it creates the least disturbance, both to the road system as well as, to the unroaded system out there when they're bringing the logs for loading and things of that sort. Once they hit non-federal jurisdiction, then they need to adhere to any, laws associated with that, which we don't, have control over. We technically can't impose upon them any kind of noise restrictions or, timing restrictions or things of that sort if they're going to be in compliance with, state and local law.
Also, too, speaking for the county roads, too, we kind of face the same thing, and our road superintendent is in here also, but if they're doing it on a frozen, when it's frozen, it's much better for us than if the ground and the road is boggy or soggy under them. They have a more potential hazard of actually turning over. So I would hate to try and put a restriction of time on them, because they're really working against the elements within that 200-day time frame.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea about winter and summer hour differences when you think about it. The other thing that I wanted to know is that if you were to make a guess, then you would say that they're going to use Forest Service Road and County Road 31, 75% of this whole project, 50%? What would you guess?
Yeah, and that's a number that we would have to, put some pencil to paper to get a good estimate. Just in my looking at the map and where the projects are, probably, 75% of the project area is over on that east side. So that's just a guesstimate that, 75% is probably some in the realm of what it will actually turn out to be.
Okay, thank you.
Jen?
Chad, do you have any thoughts, comments?
Well, I would just say this, as mayor, my job is just sort of glorified spokesperson, volunteer or something. But I think my main message is kind of what I said to the Forest Service when we met earlier this week, is that there seems to be some chitter chatter out there that maybe Dolores is sort of opposed to the project, and I don't think that's the case. We're not trying to, create an adversarial sort of relationship around this project. That's not it at all. The way I put it is, for the town, especially that Boggy Jaw area, that's our backyard. So our residents use that, incredibly heavily. And so the concerns that we're getting from citizens and of our town, that's sort of what we're doing, is echoing some of those. So the folks that live in town and are worried about logging trucks coming down the hill, and the folks that live in town and are worried about going up and riding their bikes and walking their dogs and skiing and those sorts of things. The businesses in town that are concerned that there's going to be an impact to recreational dollars that come for our town. That's who we're speaking for, if anything. But as Ken said earlier, we fully understand and appreciate the science, and we understand the reasoning behind it. So we're just doing everything we can to, cross the T's and dot the I's, so that our citizens feel comfortable as possible about the project. So any of these meetings and anything that we're doing is about transparency and information so that people have, as much data to make their own minds up as they can. So that's kind of, my big picture thoughts.
Okay. And we have one more hand up here in the audience who spoke the other night. Susan?
Hi, Susan Lysak, Dolores Chamber of Commerce. My question is for you, Derek. How will the Forest Service keep the general public informed? And how early will that information get out to them? Because it's really hard to get information out if you tell us 2 days beforehand that we're going to be closing this trail and that trail. Is there going to be an itinerary of what's happening over approximately what dates so that we can get that information out to the public?
So we'll definitely utilize our current modes of. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. So we'll be utilizing our usual modes of information sharing. So we'll definitely would be putting articles, into the Cortez Journal, well before we were actually going to close an area. We utilize, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not sure what other social media outlets that we utilize, but those are the two that I know we utilize for sure, as an opportunity to share information. And then we'll also be putting, an informational board up at the Boggy Draw trailhead itself to be able to inform the public on, what the schedule of proposed activities will be there in that area. And then we also talked, with the town that, if there's a desire that, we do something like that, at the Dolores market, or at the Dolores River Brewery, and put up that same kind of information, that's something that we could do as well.
Thank you. My next question is bike races. So there's going to be a couple bike races happening that leave out of Dolores. One is going to be Ride of the Ancients. That's going to be a gravel grinder on June 26th. The other one is going to be the Boggy Draw Beatdown, which used to be the Escalante Days bike race, and that's going to be happening on August 7th. So how will those two races be impacted by the logging that's going to be happening over that time period?
So we, have identified within the environmental assessment that we addressed Escalante Days anyways. The other one in June, I don't think that's anything that we have captured. But at any rate, the Escalante Days, we identified that timber sale activities would not be allowed on that weekend to account or to accommodate the race. As far as like the route and things like that, that might be affected, but we've worked with you all before, or with the Rotary, Club, when adjustments were needed to that route. So that might be affected, but the race itself wouldn't. The June one, like I said, is that something that you've worked, or somebody has worked with Tom Rice on?
I'm not sure. It's through the Canyon of the Ancients group, so they're working on all the permits. So I just heard about this last week, that it was happening, and so my concern was for them as well. And that's going around the Salterwye area. And then we will be having some meetings, Derek, so I'd love to invite you to them. We're going to be working on the course routes for this year, and so we're having meetings that Mark Tucker and I and Tom Seymour will be in on, so I'd like to invite you in on that as well.
Sure, and then, for this year, there won't be any impacts at all. As far as implementation, we're probably 3 to 4 years out before we would actually start having activities in that Boggy Draw area.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the CPW here, Ms. Stark and Mayor Wheelis, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to direct to them.
I don't have any specifically. I don't have any specifically. I just need to look at the restrictions that are in there a little closer, and then just have a division contact in case we have questions. That's really what we need. So if I can get that from you before we go. The other thing, Derek, that we talked about that was in the meeting that we had with the town that I'd like to see if you'd still consider is that you said you brought a tech person on that maybe could help with an app that we talked about, right? Do you remember that?
Correct. We didn't bring a tech person on. We just have a tech savvy person in the position that was responsible for overseeing our San Juan National Forest app. That's a forest-wide app that mostly Pagosa has been the one utilizing it just because they have a tech-savvy person over there that is able to, populate the information and manage it. We now have somebody like that in that role. It would be our visitor information specialist who may be able to, assist with that. So that's something, yes, that we can explore.
Because that's an easy thing for the chamber or the county and even the town to put a connecting link to. And that may help us be a little more current time with things. And then the last thing, I guess, unless other people had questions, if we could address before we all leave, I just wanted to get an idea from the commissioners on how you'd like to work from here forward. If we want to just separate and each do our letters, if we want to work through managers, so you can kind of see what we're writing and we can see what you're writing, or if you're not interested in, if we each want to make our own pizza or what. So I just wanted to check and make sure that there was some closing understanding of how, because we've got to move forward in a public process to get our letter in front of our board members in a public meeting, and you guys do too. But I just wanted to know kind of next steps that maybe the county was feeling, each one of the commissioners was feeling, and get some ideas also kind of from Ken and Shaq where they wanted to go from here.
What kind of pizza do you like?
I'm not telling you till you tell me if you want to share.
No, I don't think that would be an issue. I think that we could get with Ken and Shaq, to kind of see where we're at. And I don't see an issue unless, obviously, the pizzas become burnt. That's good. I think we should, we could actually put it together. I think hopefully, as a board to board, we have now addressed all of your concerns. Obviously, the other night, without the expertise of the Forest Service and CPW, we couldn't address all of your concerns. But I think moving forward, we can get ours as a county put together pretty quickly. I mean, we understand that, forest health is a big issue, and what we need to do with industry to make this thing be prosperous is it all in our best interest, and obviously Dolores sits in our county along with every other municipality. So Shaq, are you okay with that? I'm speaking as one. I've got two other guys that can also talk, but I think we can work collectively to make that happen.
Yeah, I can work with Ken and James. That was a great example of the 3 Ds of leadership: discover, delegate, disappear. I think you handled your business.
Say, this is Ken. I do have a question for the DNR in terms of wildlife. Just what are your concerns for this project in terms of wildlife and such?
He's coming up to the mic.
Oh,
Hi, Matt Sturdivant, Wildlife Officer for the Dolores District. We did our scoping letter last year that outlined some of our issues, especially because a lot of this area is going to be a migration route. It is calf production range and mule deer production, so that was one of our main concerns, but we had to look at the big scope of things also. The forest health, is this going to benefit wildlife in the end? And I know the Forest Service addressed quite a few of our concerns. We are in the process of writing another letter, so we are in the process of that, so. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, it's a migration corridor. It's a transition range also, and that's one of the main areas that I think we're lacking between our summer and fall range to our winter range. So I know I've talked with Ivan a little bit about it, and he's been working hard at trying to make this transition range, which is a lot of our Salter Y area going into Sage Hen, that is going to benefit wildlife in the end. So we're working together with them, and they've addressed most of our concerns. So yeah, looking forward to continue working with them.
Anything else?
I
Mayor?
had one other question, and this was asked of me of a business. Derek, do you know a little bit about the reclamation process afterwards? Is there going to be a big lag time between when the logging gets out of an area and the reclamation process that follows after it? Or is it going to be years of stuff just, slash laying around? And can you describe that a little bit?
Sure. So, as far as the responsibilities of the operator and their reclamation, that needs to be closed out, immediately upon completion of the sale. So that's, depending on the time of year that they finish, it might be the following year if weather is an issue, which might, affect their ability to be able to do their reclamation work. But it wouldn't be any, much longer than that, than a year. Now, with regards to any, prescribed burning that may be necessary, that's going to just be dependent on the field conditions itself. We went out actually this winter to try to see if we might be able to get ahead of some things out in the Chicken Creek area and burn some slash piles that had been created from that work there that was created early in the year, so we thought maybe, with the dry summer that we had, that things would have cured enough that we could actually just get them to burn and do that. So we went out there and they did not burn well at all. They were still a little too green, so now we pulled out of there, and we probably won't do that until next winter. So, you will probably see, residual effects, for about 2 years post-treatment for us to get everything done out there. One thing that we have done, though, as far as our, design of the project area is to try, to the best of our ability, not to have, slash piles in direct view of the trails, so that they would be off and away from that. But that's not going to say, that you might not have a few here and there, just because of logistics, it might be necessary. But there again, our intent is not to have a bunch of slash piles right next to trails.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, and then since Jen brought it up, I just wanted to put in a plug for the San Juan National Forest app. If you just go to your app store, whichever Android or Apple, whichever you use, and just type in San Juan National Forest, it'll pop up. But just with the caveat that the Dolores Ranger District isn't, a avid user of that as far as updating it and things of that sort. So it just has general information on it for right now. But you can see what it is, what it looks like, and provide some suggestions on how it could be useful to everyone if you'd like.
Okay. And then Derek, once this is actually going on and in place, are there going to be any public meetings to inform the public once we get closer to the logging dates?
That's not something that we have done in the past. Once we get to implementation, there's really not a lot of opportunity, for any kind of public input. Now is the time, and we talked about this with Ken and Chad, that we'll be looking to see about putting on a public meeting, here in the near future about the project itself. We usually just there again, utilize the paper newspapers and things of that sort to provide notification to the public that these activities will be occurring. If there's a specific, if people feel that that's the way to get the word out, by having a public meeting, well, that's something we definitely could accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
Just an idea, Derek, we have public meetings every Tuesday. If you give us a heads up, or James a heads up, we can pretty much announce it publicly, get it on our Facebook site, website, and all of our modes of communication also, once you're within a 2-week period of time or whatever it works out to be.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's good to know.
All right. Ken, do you have anything else for the town of Dolores?
No, I don't.
Mayor
Thank you
Willis?
for setting this up. Appreciate it.
You bet. Mayor Willis? All right, well then, there he is.
No, I do, but I would say, echo what Ken said. I appreciate the commissioners heeding the town's concerns at our meeting and following through on that. That's a nice step forward.
You are very welcome. Sorry we couldn't answer for the Forest Service or the CPW, but we definitely didn't want to speak when they have the expertise. Ms. Stark, do you have anything else?
I can't believe you asked me that. No, I do not.
Okay, well, I guess this board-to-board meeting, if you guys...
No, this was easy.
All right, well, we're going to call this thing adjourned, guys, and thank you all for coming. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all for your input.
Thank you all.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good one.
Thank you.
Zoom is gone.
Now you can start talking back.
We're still on YouTube.